All right, guys, we're back live. Sorry about the technical issues. One of the audio cables wasn't placed in, so for those of you that were trying to watch, we do apologize for the interruption. We will overlay the audio from that first portion back onto the video once we upload it to YouTube, so not to worry about that.
10 seconds.
You gotta refresh it.
3.
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Driggers and Nicholas Fordham. And right now we're going into a bit about belief factor. So what we're currently talking about is a belief followed and fueled by a passion and the power of that and where that can take you as an entrepreneur in getting to your destination, as well as in your personal life. What beliefs are the assumptions we make about ourselves and others. They tell us how things really are and how we expect them to be. A belief is taken from your experience. Each one of us is usually created on an unconscious level, and they're mostly formed during childhood. So as you grow up throughout your life, you form your beliefs, you form your mind state, and throughout life you meet people and interact with different individuals that help you to add or change those beliefs.
Absolutely, right? And when we went to break, we were talking about self-blame and self-awareness. And accept your negative behavior. Avoiding blaming yourself or labeling yourself is what we were talking about, like, man, I'm bad, or I'm an idiot for making that mistake, or I shouldn't have done that, right? It's this to the depressions that happened, or damaging your internal complexion of who you are, right, and what you're about. So the action is what unproductive. It's very unproductive, and not the person who acts like, hey, I'm a different type of personality. I'm positive out there in the world, but internally you're fighting this because you're programming your mind to think that you're a bad person at what you did, right? Have you ever? I mean, you've seen people that they pick out something in their life, and then they hone in on that, right? And it's like you can't. You ever meet someone like that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can't do this. I can't do this. And so they're the whole time they're programming their minds. And that's what was so powerful about that video and watching. Here's somebody, those folks have no excuse. You got someone who has no legs that has accomplished so much and has such a positive outlook on life. Beautiful young woman, right? Just no legs. But she didn't let that stop her. She became a very competitive in gymnastics and did amazing things. And I just went back and thought about how the values and beliefs that are taught from the parents from the ground up. And, I think in today's society, we lose a lot of that.
Well, there's a great quote by Dr. Robert Anthony, and he says, you can have anything you want if you will give up the belief that you can't have it.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, our human form is precious, right? Mm-hmm. We can use our bodies to understand our true self through prayer or connecting with nature. Whatever your belief is, you've got to take time to program your mind. It's there. Mm-hmm. Program it with the right stuff, right? That's why we do the positive affirmations. What are some things that you do to keep your mind in alignment and in the direction that you're going, and keeping those values and beliefs and the importance?
It's interesting because I never thought I'd be the one to do this, but my uncle about a year ago introduced me to meditation. Nothing really religious based. It was just strictly the power of being able to sit there and relax your mind and be able to rid all of those distractions, those outside noise. And surprisingly, what I found through meditation is, in my life, there wasn't so much outside noise compared to how much noise I was creating in my own head. And the power of meditation allowed me to be able to relax. And then once I found that relaxation, I was able to empower myself and then, realize, okay, this is who I am, this is where I'm going to go forward. And it was a great reset. And I do that about 3 times a day.
I meditate because from the martial arts I learned about meditation, being at an early age in the martial arts. But and meditation comes in many forms. Like I'll sit in a quiet room with the lights darkened, and I'll just relax and just let my mind go. And I sit there and I work on my affirmations, right? They're popular. Your emotional and your freedom and everything that's in your body and things that you put together. Well, when you're in that state, your mind is so relaxed and you're so open that you can then program the thoughts, those affirmations, those words in the positive self chatter into your mind. One of the things that
Yeah.
I'm in the chair and I'm just relaxing. But what's so amazing is I've had thoughts come to me for things that I was dealing with, like ways to handle certain situations or ideas. Like I'm on a business project and I'm not sure. Just being in a relaxed state in a room, just relaxing and letting your mind just go. I have found that I've gotten so much from doing that. So I really appreciate what you're saying, because it is. Your body needs that downtime, but that's also the greatest time to program your mind. Before I go to bed, I'm programming my mind, right?
They say too, like right before you go to bed, you're getting that RMR, the relaxed meditative state of mind, and that's typically the time that I find myself really in a meditative state. Is I'll lay there and I won't be asleep, but I'll just be laying there with my eyes closed and doing my best to just release everything from my mind and kind of let it all flow out, flow away, disappear. And it's like I go into like a halfway asleep state, sort of an alpha state, if you will. And once I get into that state, then I come back to, and for some reason, I always go back to my Evernote, and I'll put a couple notes of whatever I subconsciously created in my mind. It's like I don't even know what I was thinking about, but then when I come back to from that state, then I'll put a note of whatever it is. And that's something I've caught myself doing quite often.
Have you ever visualized, like, do you visualize when you, in meditation, like see yourself doing something and accomplishing?
It's interesting because you do, but I was taught that when you try to meditate, you want to try to, it's your time to create space. We call it creating space. My meditation is called creating space. So when you do have those visions of you're in your downtime, but you start thinking, okay, you start pumping yourself up. You think, okay, I'm going to be doing this, and you see yourself doing that, your goal and your dream. But then you try to remember you need to retract that and let it go and just try to be in that moment, in that time, and as well as thoughts. But yes, we all do it, and I think the whole journey of meditation is we'll always have those distractions. Even doing it, I don't think you can ever perfect it. My uncle's been doing it for years, and they still say we still haven't figured it out.
Wow.
So, but it's yes, it's hard to do, and it's great. But they say when you meditate, you want to refrain from that. But I love it.
Yeah, well, and I even just once in a while, if I just want to, like I'm dealing with something or I have a particular goal, I'll visualize that. I'll meditate from that standpoint. Yes. But I agree with you that there are times that when you're in that relaxed environment, you just got to let it go, let your mind go, right? And just let it come to you. So, and we've been talking about beliefs and values. Now, what is a value, right? Your value determines your interactions with the world and your lifestyle. So your beliefs program your values, right? From there is how you interact with the world. So if your beliefs were brought up that you're poor, that money's awful, that it's a negative thing to have money, or that you're fat and ugly or whatever, then what you're portraying to the world is this value that you've created from this belief, right? You don't have to accept what somebody says. And I think that's really critical, is that just because somebody says something does not believe that is you. There's one of my favorite quotes, and it's in my book, and this comes from Les Brown, motivational speaker, and he says, people's opinion of you do not become your reality. Now think about that for a minute. Just because somebody says you're that doesn't mean that that's truly who you are. So if you're out there in radio land and internet land and you're listening to this, think about the beliefs that have been programmed into you. Because if they've been programmed into you to think in a negative way, you can stop and start believing in truly who you are to create that value, because that value is what's going to control you and destinations, whether it be an entrepreneur. Someone could have said you'll never be a good businessman. Let me give you an example. I was told, because at a very early age I had dyslexia. I had to go to a special class in the morning, before school and after school in first grade for like hours. It seemed like it probably was an hour, but it seemed like all night. I'd have to trace over each alphabet. I'd have to trace big letters, little, and I'd over and over and over. I had a first grade teacher tell me that I'll never be a writer. And as I went on through life, people told me that I would never be able to be a good writer or whatever. At an early age, I accepted that and used it as an excuse to fail all my English classes and all things. It wasn't later on in my life that I learned that I could control that thought and that belief. And the moment I did, here's the amazing thing. As we know, I've got 4 books on the market.
Mm-hmm.
I figured out how I could write without having to be a good writer. Right? I figured out a way to do it, and I don't use a ghostwriter. I use editors, but I figured out a way. So this limiting belief was programmed to me in an early stage, but yet as I got older, I chose not to accept it. And when I did, it changed my values and what I did and how I interacted with the world.
Another example, I was born 2 months early. They said that I'd have brain damage back then. I was 3 pounds 6 ounces. I was born with a club foot, and they said even if I lived past a month, I'd never be able to walk, and then I'd have severe brain damage. Well, I think I have the brain damage already, but I walked just fine, and I ended up playing 5 years of football, 2 years of wrestling. Had to wear a brace around my ankle, but I ended up playing with a guy that now just opened up a restaurant here in Elk Grove, Lance Briggs. And, I had the fortune of in high school to be able to play football with him. And so, there's the thing right there, and beliefs and values. If when you're at a young age, your mother's there massaging your foot and telling you, no, son, your foot's going to be just fine. Mm-hmm. You're going to be able to walk. You're going to be able to do everything you ever want to in life. And by instilling those beliefs and those values, it allowed me to walk right through and play the game.
So I got a question for the audience out there and even in this room. Do you really know what your values are?
Here's an example of a few values: courage, calmness, loyalty, generosity, cheerfulness, fidelity, compassion, honesty, patience, freedom, self-awareness, kindness, patriotism, faithfulness, integrity, open-mindedness.
What, out of curiosity, what value do you think was instilled in you in an early age that you've been able to carry forward?
It's interesting you guys invited me on here, and I think everything that we're talking about is right on to everything that my life has led up to this point, to me sitting here right in this chair. And I think commitment is one that my mother instilled in me as a young child, because she raised me as a single mom. And she worked for the state. She did the 9 to 5. I went to school. She put me through school, put a roof over her head, bought her own home. And the commitment and love that she had, I even said it at her eulogy. And it was one of the most coolest things, because I think today my mom was the only person that instilled commitment. And when you commit to someone, you have people that don't give up on you. So when you have commitment, then follows love, because then they love you.
Right.
So commitment and love, I think, are the 2 biggest values that I think I have. And it's something that you learn to be more acceptance of. You're not afraid to show compassion also as well. Compassion is a big one I like to add to that list.
That's awesome. What about you?
My one thing that I've really striven to pride myself on is loyalty. When it comes to loyalty, I'm a very loyal person. I do everything in my power to be as courageous as possible. And when I'm caught in the midst of a battle, I try to push through. My middle name, Blandon, the people's peaceful victory. And I try to do it with peace and courageousness and, overall longevity, because I feel success is really a consistent and persistent pursuance of your passion.
Absolutely. I think for me, most of the values that I had received at a younger age. One, the entrepreneurship value, right? That, and to never ever give up, no matter how hard it is. You know, not to give up and accept, into any type of failure. And I look at failure as success steps. You know, I've failed successfully in all kinds of things, but it's taken me so much further. So I think the first value is never giving up, right? But I would agree with you that love and compassion and, telling the truth and committing, right? I like that, because that was one thing that was instilled in me, is that as a man, when you say something, your word is bond. That's what my grandfather used to say. And so when you give a commitment to someone, that you follow through. And I think that's stuck with me. And those are the two values that probably mostly have been drilled into my psyche, and as a young man and as I grow older.
And look, you never truly have the perfect values or the perfect beliefs. You got to continue to recycle through what has happened in your past and what's going on in your future to continue to refine those.
Right.
Martin Luther King Jr. said a great quote: "If we are to go forward, we must go back and rediscover those precious values that all reality hinges on moral foundations and that all reality has spiritual control."
Absolutely. And you know what? We're going to get into talking about, what are some ways to identify your beliefs and values through our workbook and some other stuff here. So on One Talk Network and Get the You Factor, make sure you go register, because we're going to have up there the workbook and the ebook for you to download, plus the video to go along with, and go through the information. So we're going to go to commercial break, and we'll see you back here as we round off the importance of beliefs and values. Talk to you in a bit.
Soon.
Good job, man.
It's flowing.
It's rocking it.
Hey.
Mad
Awesome.
Max, I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you what's your beliefs and values when we come back on. Come on now, you're part of the show now.
Sure.
You're like brotherhood. We need to set up a mic for you on nights too. When we're doing, might as well. You're in here.
Yeah, I'm down for that.
Let's do it, man. Put Bill on one side. We'll get all of it. Let's just all freaking talk.
Let's talk.
Let's talk. We'll just have parties, right in
Yeah.
here.
Get the You Factor.
Yeah, it's coming through good.
Awesome.
Finally.
That's this. When this is wiggled at all, this cord, it shuts off the audio. So we need a straight through cord in order for it to stay steady current.
Oh, straight through meaning.
Meaning, instead of having this with a adapter
Oh,
over to there, we just need one that's straight.
the straight's in there, the big one.
Yeah,
Where do you get those?
fries.
Yeah, I have to pick one up then.
Mm-hmm. Just so we bring it, plug it in, test the audio, and boom, we're ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, this is fun, you guys. I like the energy in here.
Yeah,
I'm
it's,
very big on the energy.
Energy?
This is it's fun,
That's
to
good.
say the least. It's cool.
Oh, 13.
it's definitely changed my life a bit. Doing
You're a
it
whole
every
different
week.
person in here, man. I'm just like, I'm in here. I'm just, wow. All right. Not different. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Get the You Factor with Mike Driggers and Nicholas Fordham. Today we're talking about the importance of beliefs and values.
Yeah.
Values and the importance of self-love.
Values and the importance of self-love, right? I love that. And when we left a commercial, we were talking about now really how to identify. But before we go there, something that I thought, is, so we talked about when we were younger. How about when you were older? What values or something a mentor or somebody had gotten into your life, and what value did you think you changed or created?
Well, I gotta say, I've had many mentors in my life. One of the first ones that really groomed me. I moved to the city of Jackson, California, and rented out a basement from a friend of mine, and he ended up taking me from the the kind of street thug mentality that I was, and this totally different person. And he started to groom me and have me dress appropriately and act appropriately in business. And it's my good friend Martin Flanders. You know, I definitely have to give him thanks for that part in my mentorship.
Yeah. And how about you?
I think as a mentor, I'd probably have to give credit to my own father here. You know, my blood. The
Sure.
apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, but you know, himself being a serial entrepreneur since the day I was born, always running around in his shops, his companies that he had going on. I was that spoiled kid running around. I'll tell my dad on you, you know. But
Yeah.
the thing that he taught me is, and he still tells me to this day, is, you know, we never give up. And I think that's something that I learned over time is starting my own company here the last year is, you know, me and my dad never really were close when it comes to him giving me, you know, maybe new values or anything, but lately he's actually really been there and said, you know, one thing I never do is give up, and that's what makes us different as entrepreneurs is everyone doesn't really, you know, quite understand that, hey, you know, you could either go and get that job, or you keep fighting, your back's against the wall, and you believe, and you just keep fighting.
Yeah, and if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Yes.
Mentality, right? I think for me too was I had a mentor early on. You know, I wanted to be one of those great leaders. I wanted to be one of those people that went out there and did, you know, great things to help people. And there was a gentleman that pulled me to the side, and you know, I've always been that fun, energetic, crazy. I've got that personality that's like a flirtatious personality. So a lot of times it was just like really party, have fun. And he said once to me, he says, Mike, if you want to be with a leader, you got to walk as a leader. And in the beginning, I didn't understand that. And so I went home and thought about it. And then weeks later, I asked him what he meant by that. And he said, well, look, if you want to be a particular person, you've already got to visualize and see yourself as that person. So you got to be like that person. How do they dress? How do they communicate? How do they handle themselves in good and bad situations? How are they when they're alone and in crowds as a leader? And so, you know, I think that was one of the things that was a changing value in me, was that I thought I was a good leader. I thought I was, but it wasn't until, you know, he told me to ask the question, would you follow yourself? Yeah. And when he answered that, it was like a ton of bricks hit me. I don't know. Yeah. Right? Would I follow myself? I think I would. And then you start looking and breaking it down, and it changed the direction I started going as a person. And I got into personal development, looking at the leaders, watching different people and how they did things, and so on. And that was a value that was brought into my life only about 8 years ago, where it really took me to that next level in my career. So, you know, part of identifying your values is asking what's the most important to you and essential to your life. What are some values that absolutely are the concrete values that you have, and asking yourself, what are some? Right? And once you do this, you can examine whether you're living according to your values, because that's the next question to ask. What are my values? And if I'm living at that level of the values, and if not, what's the belief that's been programmed in me to think about that particular value? And so you need to ask yourself why you're not. If you have, and here's a good thing, is you read off that list. I think if people would write down their values and then look and just ask the question like I was asked, would you follow you? Would you believe you? And so I think if they look at that and say, is this a true value? Is your values really the values that you want to represent as a person? Because each person has their own identity. I want to do this particular, and have these particular values. So you really got to look at that. But I think it also starts with the importance of self-love, loving yourself, right? You had mentioned that, having that passion and that compassion and love. I mean, yes. How important do you think that was to you in your life growing up, is having that not only love from the outside, but realizing that the internal love for yourself?
It's huge, and I didn't I considered myself to be, I didn't know I was a man until I was able to say, hey, I can love, you know, I can cry, and, you know, some people or men or anybody might be afraid to show love, and I think, you know, what was the question you asked me?
So the
before?
love.
The love. Growing up, I had so much love, and I think most of the reasons why I'm an entrepreneur today is because my family, my mom, my dad, my grandparents, they gave me that unconditional love that no matter what idea that I had, whether it was a multi-level marketing or, you know, a .com or just other idea, lemonade stand on the corner, every idea, everything I wanted to do, it was, we love you and we trust you, we believe in you.
Now, did you have self-love within?
And to finish that, you know, I didn't know what that was, I think, then, because I had so much coming to me at such a young age. You know, you can be overwhelmed with love so much that it could actually frustrate you, and you want, you know, everyone's like, I need space for my family.
Sure.
And I did that, and it wasn't until I had so much love, I took a break from all the love. It wasn't until a year later I realized not only did I like the love back, but then I realized you have to love yourself in order, because once you love yourself, you realize I'm ready to give that love back, because you already love yourself.
Absolutely. You know, and it's funny because once you love yourself, then you can accept what you want to put into your mind, not what somebody else does. Right? You can't do that if you don't love yourself. You look for guidance in other people to program who you are. You let society tell you who you are and let them win versus you winning, right? So, and you've got to learn to distinguish between the ends values and the means values. So an example is if freedom is your end value, then what is it going to take to do that? Money could be your means value, right? So freedom is my ends value. That's what I want as my end result. Well, what's it going to do, having all the money in the world? So you've got to figure out the two types of values that you have in your life, and it, you know, starts with that self-love. You can't do it until you have that. Until you love yourself, you can never change who you are, right? And I think that you have to accept who you are. I've had to accept myself.
I'm still doing it every day.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So values and beliefs, you know, as you get older, they change. Things happen, right?
And you know, here's the best part, and I believe a lady at one of our first shows talked about it, is every day you're writing the chapter of your life.
Absolutely.
And you know what? You can always go back with an eraser and erase some of those chapters and rewrite them.
Yeah.
And you can continue to make a change. You guys, it's never too late to decide on a new path for yourself. Regardless of where you're at in your life, you can take some simple actions today. If you find that you're not living by your values as much as you'd like, just change. That's what takes the practice. On the other hand, if you truly like the way you live your life, now may be a great time to cultivate gratitude for the person you are and the life you have. Self-love can always be expanded and deepened. Regardless, awareness is crucial to continuing on your path of intentional evolution. Try some of the suggestions here in this workbook that we're going to have in the back of Get the You Factor to learn more about who you are and what you want. And remember, this may change over time. So, you guys, I definitely want to thank you for being a part of the show. And Justin, it's definitely been a pleasure to have you on the show.
Great experience.
Yeah.
If you could, real quick, tell the viewers how they can get a hold of you and what to expect for the Whata app.
Yeah.
What?
Whata. Definitely fashion app for designer deals. You can find out a little bit about us at whatalifestyle.com, just like it sounds. And it's a great platform for not only small to medium-sized businesses to start generating sales on their, whether they have a clothing line or jewelry or anything they want to get out there. We're a perfect platform for them to just start generating sales and not have to expense anything to join. And also for the shoppers, we're really striving to create a great experience for people that want to be able to have an app in their pocket that they can just pick anything anywhere they're going in the world, and also be exposed to trending fashion or items from all over the world. And you can find it in the Google Play Store today. Just type in Whata, W-H-A-T-A, and we will be in iTunes October 1st. And we're
Awesome.
looking forward to that.
Awesome. Congratulations.
awesome.
Thank you,
I was
guys.
searching for it on the plate. You know, Whata.
Well, you know there's passion behind that company.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So as we usually, you know, round out the show here, What are some takeaways that you took from today's show?
I think personally is really, I need to do that myself, is go down and list my values and beliefs. And, I don't think I've ever truly clearly defined that to myself. I somewhat know who I am, and I always seek to do good. And, I try to take the right path in everything that I do, but I haven't really written down a list of what my values and beliefs are, and what I'm going to do with those values and beliefs to go out and light more fire into my passion.
Absolutely. And I think it starts with also taking the workbook, because even in there you're writing down what those values and beliefs and what yours are. It's interesting because I have a document at home that has a code, and it has my values and beliefs on it. And I read it every day, and then my life purpose, and then my mission statement, right? And I look at it every day. It's up on my wall. I should have brought it today. I could have read, but I look at it and I read it and I go through it, and what my life's purpose is to help others achieve the things that they want in life. I have found that for me, that's what I love doing, is helping people. And I think that's why I'm a breakthrough coach, right? Is I help people break through the barriers of life and helping them go through and do things. And so, in the workbook, when you're working on it, one of the very first things I think is important is identify your negative beliefs before you start thinking about your positives, right? And following like a sentence would be, all men are, and write down what your negative beliefs are. All women are, what your negative beliefs are, right? I will be hurt in a relationship in the following ways. Maybe I will get sick and die of, right? And these are most common people. I will be ripped off in the following ways. Write down your negative beliefs, and we're going to teach you how to lose those. But I think for me, today's show is I want to go back to that statement, because I think that has a very big part to even any part of your life. I think what you have to ask yourself every day is, would I follow me? Even though that's what was taught, as we were doing the show, I was really starting to think about that again, because I think in your life, you're going to always change. There's always going to be things in your life, but asking yourself each day, have I done the most, and would I, to help others, which is my life purpose, yours may be different, but would I follow me? And if I can answer that in a way that I feel like I would, which I believe I can, but there's always things, I could do better, and improve upon. So I think that was the biggest part for me walking away from today's show, is reevaluating that.
Awesome. Well, we're going to go ahead and close out the show. Remember, go to GettheYouFactor.com to register. And we're here for you. Awaken the inner you. Throughout the course of our educational radio video broadcast, combined with our online educational material and workshops, you will discover what has been hiding inside of you all along. Our program is built specifically for you to help you get what you want out of life. You will be presented with key fundamentals that will guide you through anything in life and help you to respond in a different way, a new way, a way you factor to be the best possible way for you. Resolve to make a revolution in your resolution. Set goals you can and will achieve. Discover a champion's mindset. Master persistence and pursue your passions. Empower your life with honesty and integrity. Manifest your reality with daily thoughts of action. Perception and awareness around you will flow with positivity. Visualize your destiny and go out and get it. It is our goal to change your life and the lives of those around you by empowering you with the knowledge to get exactly what you desire. We know that we can't change you or your habits or actions. All we can do is to provide you with everything you need to make that change. At the end of the day, it is up to you, and we are here to help. So now it is your decision to take decisive action and get the you factor.
We ended early today.
It was like 2 minutes.
2? I got 4.
4?
Are we off? I got 4:56. What time do you have?
4:55, but it's cool. I got like 4 minutes of music playing till the next show.
Oh,
Cool.
there.
Cool stuff, guys. Thanks for.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
That was perfect timing, perfect show.
Interesting. That's what's funny, Mike, is a lot of stuff you're saying. The last month of my life, I went on this hiatus and I really battled